When we talk about pets and loyal animals, of course cats and dogs come to mind first. But there are also amazing stories about other animals, not always even domestic ones, and they are able to show compassion and care as well when a person takes care of them. The story that I would like to tell you today is incredible, and therefore it is very interesting. Some people can hardly believe it, and they don't think that it could have happened at all. Please write in the comments after watching this video, do you believe that it could really happen? This story appeared on the internet for the first time on a forum dedicated to rodents and methods of dealing with them in a residential home. One night, a man heard a soft rustling in the corner of the room. At first, he thought it was their cat, who usually lived outside. Maybe it snuck into the house and was looking for food. The man calmed down a bit. Well, of course it was the cat. What else could it be? After that, he fell asleep, promising himself in the morning to check all the windows and doors for possible places where the cat could have come in. But in the morning, to the surprise of the man, he found that everything was closed, and the cat was sleeping peacefully on the veranda in its special bed. The family was against animals in the house, so they gave him a place outside the house. Then the man thought that most likely he just dreamed it. But the next night, the noise was heard again. The man was lying in the dark, listening to where the sound was coming from, but because of the echo in the half-empty room, he could not determine the exact source. He was a little too scared to get up and turn on the light to see what was happening, so he preferred to leave it for the morning. In the morning, he searched every corner of the room, but again he found nothing strange. This went on for about a week, nightly rustling in the corners and daytime surveys of the place, which did not yield any results. The man had already begun to imagine completely ridiculous stories about ghosts and poltergeists. His imagination ran wild. Then food began to disappear from the table. One morning, a piece of bread was missing from a plate. Another morning, a candy wrapper was found on the floor. A day later, they discovered that the lid on the pot of boiled potatoes was upside down, and it was clearly missing a few potatoes. After that, the man's patience had come to an end, and he started thoroughly examining the entire house for cracks and holes. He was completely convinced that some kind of little thief appeared in the house, but he was not sure who it was. He pushed back all the sofas, wardrobes, and bedside tables, and behind one of them he found what he was looking for. It was a hole that some rodent had obviously gnawed through in order to gain entry. On the same day, the man went to a specialized store and collected all kinds of rodent traps, as well as poison, which the seller advised to scatter in all corners, especially under the sink and behind cabinets. The main thing was to make sure their 6-year-old son could not reach it. He was also advised to grease the mouse traps with oil in order to remove the smell of iron, which rodents can smell a mile away, and also the smell of oil was supposed to attract the mouse to the bait. The bait was a piece of cheese. The man also bought sticky traps that the mouse would get stuck to when attempting to grab the bait. When the man set up all the traps, he went to bed being very proud of himself. He hoped to see the thief in one of them in the morning. How surprised he was when in the morning he again found candy wrappers on the floor and all the traps remained intact. The next night, the same thing happened again, so then the man decided to stay up to see how the rodent was bypassing all the traps. He was very surprised to learn the secret of the little thief. It turned out that their young son felt so sorry for the defenseless animal that after waiting for his parents to go to bed, he quietly went to the kitchen and laid out sweets for the rat in places where there were no traps. And the cunning beast, as if knowing what the kid was warning him from, obediently followed the trail of the sweets, ate them right on the spot, and by morning went back to his shelter with a full stomach. The man scolded his son for this. He explained to him that he should not feed wild animals in the house because they could spoil the furniture and could even bite people when they were sleeping. But the boy did not want to believe it. He was sincerely sorry for the little rat who could die in one of the traps. But one night, something happened, and it changed the man's attitude towards uninvited guests in his house forever. He woke up to a terrible squeak, and then after that, such a commotion was heard in the kitchen that the man jumped out of bed. Running into the kitchen, he found that pots from the stove and cups from the table were lying on the floor, and in the middle of it all, there was a rat on his hind legs squeaking with all his might. For a couple of seconds, the man could not believe what was happening. He looked at the rat, and for a moment it even seemed to him that the rodent was trying to tell him something. Once he was fully awake, the man was finally able to recognize a strong smell of gas in the air. He immediately opened all the windows and doors, quickly ran to his son's bedroom, took him in his arms, woke his wife, and led everyone out of the house. Neighbors, hearing the noise in their home, ran out into the street where they saw what had happened, and they called emergency services about the gas leak. After examining the house, they came to the conclusion that a break had occurred in the gas line. If the man had not woken up in time, then most likely by morning they would have not survived, having been poisoned by the gas. The owner of the house could not believe this. It turned out that if the rat had not awakened him, then everything could have ended in tragedy. The rat saved the lives of his loved ones. He even thought that it was thanks to his son, who fed the animal and won him over, and he repaid the boy with a good deed of his own and saved him and his parents. Or maybe the rat was just frightened himself and therefore squeaked all over the house. There are so many questions in this story, and there are so few answers. We can only guess what the animal's intention was when he made such a commotion in the house. After the family was able to return to their home, the man, in gratitude for their salvation, left a treat for the rodent and removed all the traps. But after this night, the rat never appeared in their house again. It's possible he was only there to save their lives that night. What do you think? Or do you have a different opinion on this matter? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this story, then click like. Also, subscribe to the channel and do not forget about the bell so as not to miss our new videos.